Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the week 8 session for the course Creativity and Innovation. During week 8, I'll be talking to you regarding your syllabus or outline topic designated for the same week. Let me show it to you through this document or outline. So for week 8, we'll be discussing creativity at the business or organizational level. Uh, this will remain our topic for week 9 also, as you can see here. But the way this is going to work out is that for this week, I'll be talking to you about excerpts from one of the books that I had shared with you at the start of the semester. The book is titled Innovation, Harnessing Creativity for Business Growth by Adam Jolly. This is an edited book whereby different chapters or sections of the book have been written by different authors. And this book basically focuses on the concept of creativity and innovation in the context of a business and how you make a business grow. So I'll be having some discussion or some key points for discussion with regards to this book in this week's session. Other than that, I'll be discussing, uh, quickly reviewing, in fact, the case study or handout on Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. This is a very famous circus or entertainment company which went out of business in 2017 after 146 years of remaining in business. So they originally started in 1871 in the United States, and after 146 years of successful operations, they had to close down. So I'm going to review this handout. However, I must point out that I will be mainly discussing the case regarding Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey during week 9. As far as this session is concerned, I'm just going to highlight a few key aspects that you as students of this course are required to read or review. And then hopefully that will enable you to be prepared. Our main focus with regards to this case will be that we are going to connect some of the key points regarding creativity that are highlighted in this case study from the perspective of Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. And we are going to connect these points regarding creativity with the restaurant business of any city in Pakistan. For example, we can focus on the city of Peshawar and how some of the lessons can be drawn in terms of the failure of this 146-year-old company, so that any business in any sector can derive some lessons as to how to grow and how to survive. So we're going to focus on the restaurant business. So this discussion regarding the restaurant business and how we can connect the key points of this case with the restaurant industry or restaurant sector in Peshawar or any other city of Pakistan, that will be our agenda for week 9. So this is how we are going to proceed. So now, besides the excerpts from the book that I mentioned and the case that I'm going to quickly review of the document, I'm going to share links of 2 videos through the Google Classroom. These are 5 or 6 minute videos maximum that you will be required to watch in connection with the topic for uh, week 8, which is creativity at the organizational level or business level. So moving forward, this is the book I just mentioned a while ago, Innovation, Harnessing Creativity for Business Growth. And as I mentioned, this is an edited book by Adam Jolly. I'm not going to be reading this book or go into the details. I'm just going to use this book or the structure of this book to highlight some of the key dimensions of creativity at the organizational level. What are some of the characteristics? Now, please remember that we have studied creativity at the individual level and creativity at the team level. As far as creativity at the individual level is concerned, this was done through different activities, exercises, and lectures inside the campus before the lockdown or the closing down of the campus. And creativity at the team level was our topic for week 6 and week 7. For week 7, you were required to complete a team exercise, a group exercise. And for week 6, I had shared some handout material and video for you to watch, and you were required to complete the task for week 6 as well. As far as this book is concerned, it has been divided into 3 sections. Section 1 is titled Inspire. Section 2 is titled Create. And section 3 is titled Connect. And the basic idea is this is based on the very simple process of innovation, whereby the editor of the book and the way this book has been organized, it connects with the steps of innovation. And please remember that creativity and innovation go hand in hand. They are interconnected concepts, and that is why we are studying them together in this course as well. So as far as the creativity aspect of any organization is concerned, the first section of this book within which is titled Inspire, it has discussions on different aspects. For example, it focuses on the issue of strategic commitment, whereby the authors try to make the case that organizations where creativity and innovation is encouraged, they need to have a strategic commitment to creativity and innovation, which means that they have to have a long-term focus on encouraging creativity and innovation at the level of the organization. And this should come from the top of the organization, and it should go all the way to the bottom layers of the organization or the hierarchy. So this aspect has been discussed in section 1.1, starting from page 3. You are not required to, read these sections because this book is quite lengthy. I'm just here to give you or facilitate you in terms of the structure of the book. But more importantly, I'm using this book, I'm explaining the different dimensions of creativity at the organizational level. So this is the first dimension, the idea of strategic commitment. Then the second component or section of this book, it focuses on explaining or discussing the culture of innovation. And please remember that organizations where creativity is encouraged, they have to have a culture whereby employees or workers are encouraged. Now, please remember that as far as the concept of team creativity is concerned, creativity at the level of organization is different from team creativity in the sense that creativity at the level of organization is very much strongly dependent on organizational culture, whereby not just the people who are or employees who are more prominent or who are in leadership positions or who are in prominent positions within an organization, not just that even that they are encouraged to generate creative ideas, but in an organization with a culture of creativity and innovation, even those employees who are not very loud or who are not very visible or who are not in very prominent positions, such employees who are sort of working behind the scenes, even those employees are encouraged to participate in creative processes. So this is what we mean by a culture where all types or all categories of employees from top to bottom, in terms of senior positions, middle level positions, in terms of employees who are very open and talkative or who are very prominent, as well as all the employees who remain behind the scenes or who are relatively quiet, who are not very visible. All of them are involved somehow or the other in this creative process. And this is something that is also highlighted in the video talk that is connected with this course, which I mentioned earlier. So let me quickly show that video talk as well in terms of. So you will be required to watch this video coupled with my lecture. This is a 5 minutes 33 seconds video whereby the gentleman you see in front of you is Professor Alf Ren, Alfrehn. He is a professor in a university in Finland, and he talks about the nature of creativity at the organizational level. That is why the video is titled What Makes an Organization Creative. And as you watch this video, you will realize that he's talking about or emphasizing on the aspect of organizational culture as well, and how the not just the louder employees, but even those who are quieter or who are not very visible or who are not in senior or prominent positions in an organization, even they are involved in generating creative ideas and being part of the overall culture of the organization. So he tries to explain that aspect. So getting back to the book, that the culture of innovation, this is another characteristic of organizations which are creative. Third aspect which is emphasized in this book is the concept of stretching performance, whereby the authors try to tell us that organizations which are creative, they always have an emphasis on not settling for a specific level of performance. They're always stretching themselves. They're always trying to excel. They're always trying to improve. They are not stopping at a single point. They continue to stretch. They continue to improve their performance in any dimension of business. For example, in terms of product design, for example, in terms of marketing, for example, in terms of sales, for example, in terms of their human resources, for example, in terms of their planning, for example, in terms of their execution, any dimension of running a business. So they're always stretching themselves. So this remains another characteristic of organizations which are creative, and their creativity manifests itself through this focus on stretching performance. Next, one more feature or characteristic with regards to creativity at the organizational level is that in such organizations where creativity is encouraged, the employees or the people come first. So these organizations are very employee focused. Employees are valued. Employees feel fulfilled, that their work is being recognized. They very much feel part of the organization, and they seem to feel that they are given priority. And this is something that is again connected with organizational culture as well. So this aspect is discussed in section 1.4. Moving further, another aspect of creativity at the organizational level is that such organizations have a constant focus on learning, improvement, and development. And again, this connects with stretching performance as well. So this aspect, that they're constantly trying to learn, they're not stopping at a single point, they're never fully satisfied or content with what they have achieved, that remains also a characteristic of such organizations. So those organizations where creativity is encouraged, you will find that there is a culture of or focus on learning and development, a constant learning and development. So moving further with the second section of the book, this one talks about some other characteristics of organizations that have a focus on creativity and innovation. So for instance, such organizations have a lot of emphasis on teamwork, and they believe in generating networks of partners, collaborations, working with other organizations, and generating ideas, capturing or getting ideas from their network partners, constantly thinking about them. So team level work, groups, etc. So you find that there's always, and then these teams are very diverse in the sense that one team can have members from different departments or different sections of the organization, so that Again, this connects with the issue of diversity and interplay of different people in terms of their thoughts and how uh, they perceive the organization or their work. So when you bring such diverse group of people together into teams, and you break these departmental barriers or barriers amongst different groups of organizations. So such a culture is going to then uh, have a much greater creative output. Next, this book focuses on the role of leadership, and it tries to tell us, section 2.2, it tries to tell us that organizations that are creative and have a focus on innovation, leadership plays a very important role in terms of encouraging innovation, encouraging creativity, giving value and respect to each and every kind of employee, regardless of the position that they have, regardless of the importance of their work. So, leadership plays a very important role, and this aspect is discussed in section 2.2. Then, for section 2.3, another dimension of creativity at the organizational level is that such organizations are always looking for new ways of working. They are always looking for improving through process innovation, through product innovation, through paradigm innovation, etc. And these are some of the things we had discussed at the very first start of our semester. So they are constantly improving, improvising, and this point also connects with the idea of learning and development that I mentioned earlier. So this aspect is discussed in section 2.3. Further, the book goes on to connect the idea of creativity and innovation inside organizations, especially creativity. Whenever an organization engages in creative practices, you have new ideas to work with, you are always challenging the norms or the standards or traditions of the market or wherever you operate. So there's always a risk involved, because whenever you experiment, there's always a potential for failure of your creative ideas once they are materialized. So such organizations have a strong focus on risk management, whereby using strong or well-oriented risk management practices, they limit or curtail or cut down the potential for failure. So this is another characteristic of organizations which demonstrate creativity and innovation. Another aspect to remember is the concept of intellectual property, which refers to the fact that organizations which are creative and they're coming up with new product designs or constantly coming up with new processes, they will always have also a strong focus on intellectual property, especially in the context of countries where there are strong intellectual property laws and there is strong regulation of business. So these organizations which demonstrate creativity will have a strong understanding of intellectual property dimensions or domains and how to use them and how to implement them. Only then they are in a position to uh, uh, generate advantages from their creative ideas and innovations and convert them especially into profitable products and ideas. Another aspect with regards to creativity at the organizational level is that such organizations have a strong emphasis on funding for innovation and creativity. So they are always allocating funds for different creative projects, whereby some team or some departmental team or interdepartmental team is working. They're also looking for resources or funding from outside the organization through their network, through their partners, and they're always looking for collaboration. So this aspect of allocating funds, generating funds, hunting for or searching for funding through different interactions or network relationships with other organizations. This also is a key characteristic of organizations which want to encourage creativity. Moving to the last section of this book, which is talking about connect. This relates to how these organizations focus on their partners or how they collaborate. So, for example, organizations which have a strong focus on creativity and innovation, they uh, believe in partnering with customers. They don't treat customers as someone who's going to use or buy the product, but rather they treat them as their partners who can even provide business ideas, who can provide ideas for the product, who can provide ideas for product improvements, who can provide ideas for improving product efficiency, who can provide very valuable feedback. So they treat them as business partners, and using the customers' insights, customers' feedback, customers' ideas and suggestions, and their user experiences, they generate a lot of creative ideas using their customers as the source of those creative ideas. So they are willing to team up with customers and encourage them to provide new ideas and suggestions to the organization. Moving further, organizations, when we talk about creativity at the organizational level, such organizations also have a strong emphasis on using technology and information systems, because information systems provide you the ability to generate and handle and manage a large amount of data. You use different techniques to mine the data, and some many a times this data mining, or using these information systems, data of customers, data about the market, data about competitors, and so many other dimensions, these can be a valuable source of generating creative ideas. So using or relying on information systems is a key characteristic of creative organizations. Also, organizations which have a focus on creativity, they have very strong collaborative partnerships or relationships with their supply chain members. For example, an organization which is purchasing a raw material for a product from its partner, that is a supply chain member. So it will have a very strong collaborative relationship whereby it will be willing to exchange ideas with its supply chain partner or its supplier of raw material, and uh, they such an organization would be willing to involve representatives from their supply chain partners into some forum or some committee or some platform where ideas regarding how to improve supply chain, how to generate efficiency within the supply chain, such ideas are discussed, and creative new thoughts emerge based on input from supply chain partners. So this aspect is discussed in section 3.3. Then uh, another point connected with creativity at the organizational level, that organizations which are creative and innovative, they have a strong focus on product design. They're always looking for design improvements. If an organization is in the services sector, it will always be looking for ways and means to improve the services using technology, using human resources efficiently, effectively, uh, while incurring minimum costs. So they're always looking for design features for their goods or services where uh, the design improvements result in cost saving or quality improvement. So they're always looking for new designs and new approaches to how they offer their products, whether goods or services. And finally, this book focuses on one last characteristic of organizations where creativity is encouraged, and this connects with working with rules and standards, whereby the authors try to tell us that such organizations which are creative or innovative, they're always willing to, challenge the norms or standard rules and regulations of a business. So they're willing to rewrite the rules. They're always on the edge of uh, the rules and restrictions that are placed upon them. So one very important point to consider is that usually organizations that are creative and innovative, they there is always room for conflict of these organizations with governments or regulatory bodies, because of the fact that they are trying to rewrite the rules of the business or how they conduct business. So that remains one more characteristic of organizations which are creative. So all these aspects that I explained are covered in this book. And the basic idea of reviewing this was to help you understand the different dimensions of creativity at the level of the organization, using this book as the background for the discussion. Uh, if you are interested in understanding any of these dimensions that I mentioned, obviously you can read that relevant section and gather further information. However, for the purpose of this course, you are not required to read all of this book. It is just a reference text that you can use regarding any aspect of creativity at the organization level if you want to understand that further. Moving to the next part of the course, this topic, uh, I'll be sharing a case study or a handout with you that I mentioned at the start of my session. This is lessons in creativity for Peshawar's restaurant businesses, and this is derived from an article written by Aaron D. Allen. Uh, and this is the source where it's available online. You can even search it through Google if you want to find it. It was published uh, back in 2018, and there have been some changes or revisions to this that I have incorporated. The latest update has been during April 2020. So the article is titled, "What Can Failure of a Business Teach Us About Creativity at Organizational Level?" So using the case of Barnum and Bailey, Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, this is the name of the company, Circus, which, as I mentioned earlier, 146-year-old company, which went out of business in 2017, the March of 2017. So what were the reasons? And especially with regards to creativity, where did the company fail? And what lessons can be drawn by different business organizations from the failure of this company? Uh, how can we apply some of these lessons to the restaurant sector and the creativity within the restaurant sector? So this will be the focus of this case study. I am going to cover this case study in week 9 in detail. I just want to point out that this case study has a number of different sections. So it starts with a background, which I'm going to discuss, background of the company or organization, that is Barnum and Bailey Ringling Brothers. So I'm going to explain this next week. It has a number of sections. For example, it provides approximately five reasons for the failure of Ringling Brothers in terms of their inability to be creative and how this contributed to the failure of the organization. So it talks about the passion for decency, resonates with consumers. It then focuses on the loss of the founder does not mean a loss of magic. It then tries to tell us about the aspect of brands who think creatively can get back to the original DNA without compromising. So this aspect is explained. Moving further, it talks about don't assume immunity from failure. When businesses assume that they are not prone to failure or they are going to remain active for the foreseeable future, this is a very big assumption which can backfire. So it talks about that. And then one more reason is provided in the form of the most successful brands put the experience first. So what is the importance of experience when it comes to organizations which use creativity to prolong their life and sustain themselves in a competitive environment or market? So all these aspects are discussed. At the end of this handout, there are 3 questions which are given. So next week, I will discuss this handout in detail, and you will be required to answer these questions based on the hints and suggestions and points that I highlight, especially in the context of the restaurant sector or the restaurant industry for any city, whether it's Peshawar or any city where you live, or any big city nearby your place of residence. So using these 3 questions, we will connect the findings or the outcomes or the main points of this case regarding Barnum and Bailey and Ringling Brothers with the creativity dimensions of the restaurant business. Uh, Additionally, I will be providing you a link of a video. This is titled "The End of Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus." This is a small 2 minutes news report. And if you watch it, there are some hints given in terms of what contributed to the failure of the company and how. Because the reason is that when you watch this video, it connects with the case handout, and it will help you understand it a little better in terms of what we are trying to do using this case study and how we are trying to understand the creativity dimensions for the organization or at the organization level. So thank you very much for your time. With this, I come to the end of my talk for this week. I will be uploading this to my YouTube channel for you to watch. And uh, for week 9, we're going to cover the case study along with the questions, using some of the input from this week and some of the topics or points that I've provided or covered during this week. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.